All right, what is going on, people? Thank you for coming back and checking out my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. So, today I thought we would talk about Elvis's four TV specials. Now, obviously, we did not get a full Elvis special in his prime years, or what most people consider his prime, probably between 56 and 58, which is brutal. It's disappointing. It's depressing because it should have happened, and he absolutely could have carried a 1 hour program by himself. But, of course, everybody knows, did movies, got drafted, and then he comes back. And part of that comeback is doing the Frank Sinatra show. Now, obviously, this is not a Elvis centric program. There's a lot of other acts on here, and you really don't get a whole lot of Elvis, which is disappointing. But it is what it is, and for some reason, the audio and video of this is horrendous. And I don't know what happened because his earlier TV appearances looked a lot sharper. The sound was better. Now, luckily, there has been another source found for the audio that MRS released, but the video, I don't know what happened. Maybe there's some book out there that I'm not aware of that explains really what happened. But yeah, I don't. It's watchable, but it's really really blurry, grainy. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, but you get Elvis coming out in the uniform, greeting the audience. He talks for a little bit. And then probably 45 minutes goes, and then he comes back and does Fame and Fortune, Stuck on You, and then a Love Me Tender and Witchcraft medley with Sinatra. So you get three performances, and it is what it is. It should have been an Elvis centric show. I mean, I don't want to say that his name wasn't as big as it was, you know, in 56, 57, 58. But, it's him coming back from the military. The music had slightly changed. Elvis had matured. It would have been a really good, fresh starting point, and kind of show people what kind of material he was wanting to record for years to come, because it really would have shown his repertoire. I mean, he did Stuck on You, Fame and Fortune. He could have brought in several songs. He could have brought in Such a Night. He could have brought in It's Now or Never. If this was an Elvis centric show, it probably would have been unbelievable. It probably would have been as exciting as like the Pearl Harbor show, where that had like a track listing, song selection like no other show. And this could have been something similar to that, but it wasn't. But that is essentially the Frank Sinatra show. This is a DVD by MVD, and yeah, it is what it is. It's okay. Luckily, this is really cheap, and if you want to just have a copy of it, then that's it's out there for you. Now, luckily, with his second special, things had changed, and the music had changed. People's perception of Elvis had changed. His career had changed. His voice had changed. And, he did movies, some he didn't like, some that he did. There's something in This Is Elvis that really catches you, that this impersonator narrates. Because, he's talking as if he was Elvis. And he says, while Bob Dylan and the Beatles were topping the charts, I was making stuff like Harem Scarum and Paradise Hawaiian Style, which had to have been brutal and depressing, because when you're someone like Elvis, and you know that you're capable of a lot more, and you know that you are the best out there, and you know that there's something inside you that wants to perform and wants to not make these movies over and over and wants to get back out there. That had to have been a severe mental strain on Elvis. But luckily, How Great Thou Art had, he had done How Great Thou Art. He was doing, songs like, Guitar Man, and he was doing stuff on the Guitar Man sessions. And then luckily we get to this. And whether it's the Aloha, whether it's this, pretty much even the songwriters that had written songs for Elvis, whatever you're doing has to go through the Colonel. And then if the Colonel likes you, then you get to see Elvis. And that's exactly what happened with Steve Binder. Now, obviously, we know now that the Colonel wanted this to be a Christmas program. It aired around Christmas. That idea was only desired by the Colonel. Elvis didn't want to do that. Steve Binder didn't want to do that. Nobody involved wanted to do that except the Colonel and probably the people that were above the Colonel at RCA or NBC or whatever. I don't know. But once Steve won over the Colonel, then he got to talk to Elvis, and Elvis didn't want to do it. And Steve said, I was wanting you to do stuff like Jailhouse Rock and Hound Dog and stuff like that. And Elvis said, well, that's what I want to do too. And then I think once he won over Elvis, that everything was smooth sailing. The sheer material that was recorded and filmed for this is unbelievable. 2 sit-down shows, 2 stand-up shows, songs that he would do for the first time ever. You get to see him do a sit-down version of Tiger Man. You get to see him do Memories. You get to see him do If I Can Dream. And what's fantastic about this is you actually get to see Elvis sit down and play the guitar, which is very, very fun to watch, because I think Elvis is a very underrated. He played bass somewhat good, I think. He played piano good. He played guitar good. So he was the total package. So you get to see him sit down and really rock out on songs like Trying to Get to You and Blue Suede Shoes and Baby What You Want Me to Do. That had to have been one of them songs that was really on his mind, because he had done a 66 home recording of Baby What You Want Me to Do, and he brought that back in 69 for Vegas. So that was a song he probably really enjoyed doing. And it's just, everything on here is phenomenal. And the video's good, the audio's good, everything about this is good. I think this is the best quality version you can get. But once again, this was filmed on tape, so if you have the DVD, you're good. And I think there's not much of a picture upgrade, but there is a good sound upgrade. And you get the CDs and the video in one package. And yeah, this was the 68 comeback special, his second one. So then we get to 73. Now, at this point in Elvis's career, he had went back to Vegas in 69, and he had went back to doing live performances again. He had done That's the Way It Is. He had done Elvis on tour. He had performed at Madison Square Garden. So what's the next logical step? What's the biggest thing that can be done? And at that time, it was a satellite beamed show. And 1.5 billion people witnessed this. I can't even name you all the places that got to see him, all the different countries. More people watched this than the moon landing. And I think this really highlights how big of a star Elvis was and how big his name was. That now all of the questions from the 60s about, is Elvis done? Is his career going to just keep passing him by? Well, everything was answered in the comeback, and then everything was really cemented, in my opinion, with this. This is the biggest concert he ever did. Viewing-wise, record-wise, this was a number one album. And you get rehearsal show, you get the standard show that was broadcasted, and you get audio and video. And I think most people would agree that this is the I don't want to make a bad statement here. This is the best he looked up until, I don't know how to put this. After this, what started the kind of weight gain and his body started changing. I think his face and his figure in this was really similar to 71, back 70, and he looked really good here. Hopefully I didn't stutter and confuse too many people. What I'm just trying to say is he had lost some weight to do this, and I think he looked really healthy in this. And I think, a few months after this was when things started going downhill, in my opinion, where he didn't look as thin and he didn't look as healthy. But to get two full shows, beginning to end, great track listing. You get songs like Burning Love, Johnny Be Good, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, What Now My Love, Fever, American Trilogy. I think these versions of American Trilogy, in my opinion, are the best that he ever did. And I really, really love watching the Aloha from Hawaii special. And it comes with a sticker if you want to read that. You want to pause and read it. And then you get kind of a post-special session where, during the broadcast, I think, they had shown him, for the people that didn't watch it, because I think it came out in other countries before it came out in the U.S. So you get, rehearsal takes of Blue Hawaii, Ku'ipo, No More, Hawaiian Wedding Song, Early Morning Rain. And it's all here, audio and video. And this is this comes with a Blu-ray, one Blu-ray. So that is Elvis's third TV special, Aloha from Hawaii. Now, 74, 75, 76 had went by with, from my understanding, I think the only multi-track recording was that March 20th or March 18th of 74. And no specials, no big albums had come out other than On Stage in Memphis. No live albums. So 77 rolled around, and in June they filmed the 19th and the 21st for Elvis in concert. A lot of people have a hard time watching this. And the reason for that is Elvis looks incredibly unhealthy. Elvis looks worn out physically. He looks tired. But he still sings really, really well, in my opinion. And obviously this is almost the end for his performing career. His last show was on June 26th. And what's included in here is from the 19th and 21st. So you can just tell that he's starting to, I'm trying to say this as nice as possible, because obviously I love Elvis and it's hard watching this, but you can tell that something's not good. You can tell that something is really, really wrong. Something has went wrong. And a lot of people have a hard time watching this. But you get songs. He does Are You Lonesome Night? You Gave Me a Mountain. How Great Thou Art. Hurt. My Way. And it's got a different mood than any other thing that he ever did. Because at the time, people didn't know that the end was near. But now people go back and watch this and you realize how close, how close he is to the end here. But at the end of the day, this is an important piece of history, of Elvis history. And, if you watch the bootleg of this, there's Joe Esposito narrating at the beginning. And I think he says he accepted his appearance and the fans accepted his appearance. Because at the end of the day, it's still Elvis. He's still going to sell out a show. He's still going to give it his all. He still loved the fans still loved him, and he was still pouring his heart out, and he was still giving it his all. And for a man who was clearly not feeling good, clearly going through some things, for him to do everything he did in 77, and for him to do these shows, and for him to still go out there with a smile on his face and give it his all, has to garner a ton of respect. Because it's still him, it's still his incredible voice. He just, you just realize that he's close to the end. So, I think I still enjoy watching this. And I enjoy watching it because you, like I said before, you have to respect his determination and his resolve. You know, he could have easily said, I need to take a whole lot of time off. But he was still doing February shows, March shows, April, May. It's all, he kept going until the end. And I respect that a lot. Obviously, you know, health-wise, he maybe shouldn't have done it, but it's people nowadays, they stop performing over getting the cold, or something's wrong with my toe, or something. And people can tell how bad he was looking at this point, and he was still doing a ton of material. So, those are the TV specials of Elvis Presley. And there are some lows from the Frank Sinatra special to the ultimate highs of the Aloha and the comeback. And his final CBS appearances and shows are very divisive. A lot of fans, like I said, have a hard time watching it. A lot of fans wish that it would get an official release, and I'm in the boat that I think it should be released. I think it's an important piece of Elvis history, and he still sings good. He may not look good, but he still sings good, and he still gives it his all. And to me, anybody can have a ton of respect for that. So, thank you for coming back and checking out my YouTube channel. Thank you for commenting, subscribing. I really appreciate it, more than you know. And whatever day you wind up watching this, I hope you have a fantastic day. Have a good one.